and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Sari Brody. Yeah.
Yes, it's on. Thank you. It's quite humbling to be here. I've been working with the area of gender diversity and equality in general for quite some years, I would say 15 years at least with IKEA, but also before. But this is the first event that I am where men actually initiate it, take the lead, and truly believe in it. And it's humbling and it's fantastic at once. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the participants here. I wanted to share, what I will share is our systematic approach at IKEA, what we have gone through, where we are today, which I think we have quite impressive results, but still we have a long way to go. And I would say, when it comes to engaging the men in such a proactive man, we have just started going there. So I'm getting a lot of inspiration, already thinking about, okay, I need to go back home, and how do I engage more men in our organization? So for us, if I succeed in moving the presentation, it's here. I click.
I think we should set the picture on, right?
There it is. So for us, it all starts with our vision. We actually have a fantastic vision. It inspires and it guides us. So the dreams and the wishes of people to have a better everyday life is actually in the heart of everything that we do. And at the same time, our vision gives us the opportunity, but also the responsibility to act beyond home furnishing. If we want to improve people's lives and to have people have better life at home, it's not only our coworkers, it's about our customers, but it's also society at large. So being in such events, collaborating with NGOs, with governmental agencies, and with other companies actually helps us reach this vision. So I will talk about what is gender equality for us at IKEA, because we kind of split it into two components. And I think, Peter, from Volvo, you spoke about it, and I definitely want to collaborate with you, but it sounds like you're doing quite a few things that we could learn from you, but also share. Because we start with the diversity. So it's about numbers. Before we have a critical mass, we cannot talk about cultural changes. So first, let's talk about bringing women on board, bringing them on to leadership position. And we have quite an ambitious goal. We have a goal of 50-50 women and men in all leadership positions, in all functions, and in all organizations at IKEA. And it's very, very ambitious because, of course, as you know, there are some sectors that are more female-dominated. And then, exactly as you said, then we need to bring more men on board. And then there are sectors that are, the industry per se is very male-dominated. And then we need to bring more women. So just having an average equal organization doesn't actually reach the goal of equality. So we start with that and looking into what are those differences. But then for me, what I've been actually discussing in the last 4 years at the IKEA Group is, once you have the equality in the numbers, you have only started your work. Because the real work is an inclusive culture. The real work is not where women try to fit into the men's business world. It's when women are women and men are men. And then they have complementary skills and tasks. And then you have changed the culture. You can see the feminine and you can see the masculine. And you can see the creativity start flowing. And that, I think, is a bigger challenge, for us at least, than just having the numbers. So why do we do gender equality? And I would say, when you come to the Nordic country and present, That's a no-brainer, because all of you here talk about the humanistic approach. Fantastic. But I come from the US, and when I talk about the humanistic approach and the culture, they're saying, yeah, but that's not a reason for a business to focus on it. Show us the number. Does it make business sense? And I always says, wait, not for us. So it's quite refreshing to be in an event that everybody knows what I'm talking about. So when we talk about humanistic culture, we have a very humanistic culture. And as you all already said, for me, equality is not only a human right, it's fundamental human right. So it's a no-brainer that we treat men and women equally. We start from there. It's, for me, it's more, let's make an effort, people make an effort not to do equality, it seems like. So why don't we do what should be fundamental? And at IKEA, we really pride ourselves for being a humanistic, values-driven culture. Then we need to walk the talk. And what we said is, we will walk the talk. We will show that we treat people, regardless of their personal background, in an equal way. It starts with gender, but we work on many, many other dimensions beyond the gender. Then the second reason that when we talk at IKEA is there is a new reality. So the new reality is the world, as many of you also have mentioned, has more women than men. It's 51% women. And yet, when you look in schools and graduation from universities, it's more women than men. But somehow, it does not translate to economies. So women don't make more money or not even equal money, and women do not participate in leadership position and on boards. So somewhere along the way, there is a disconnect, and it doesn't translate directly into, so let's see it in reality. And the pay gap. Today we have average pay for women 11K and for men 20K. At IKEA we committed by 2020, every single organization, every function at IKEA will pay equally to men and women who are holding positions of equal value. We started, some countries and organizations already have accomplished it. And when they say, but it's financial consequences, my answer is, well, did you think about it before? Financial consequences? So we have no excuse for that. Everybody is expected to put it on their budget by 2020. IKEA Group, with 150,000 co-workers, will pay equally to men and women holding jobs of equal value. And that is a huge pride for IKEA. So if we continue in the same way that we are going today, as you saw probably in the World Economic Forum, it will take us 170 years to close the gap. We don't have time. That's why we decided, let's create business coalitions, let's start impacting society so that it comes back to impacting the business world. And then, of course, needless to say, that when you focus on equality because it's the right thing to do, you will see the business results. But me, as a woman, I can tell you, I don't want to hear that, yeah, we recruit you because it's good for the business. Recruit me because I have high level of competence and I can actually help. And because it's my right to be in the labor pool and have equal rights, just like any other man. That's what I want to hear. And so what we found is that companies, and also in IKEA we find it, that when you have men and women sitting in a leadership position together, and you have a management team that has both men and women, all of a sudden they start challenging each other in a different way. And everybody becomes smarter, more challenging, more creative. New solutions, blended solutions are coming. And it's not, I can complete your sentence because I think exactly like you. Because that, for me, is a waste of human power. So when we think differently, when we disagree, when we complement each other, this is when we add value. not when we are exactly alike. So there's plenty of research that has been done in so many countries and in so many companies around the world. Boards and management teams that are comprised of both men and women perform better on all indices, not only on the financial index. So there's no need to convince anymore that it's good for the business. So a little bit about our systematic approach. Just want to share it generally and some of the examples because, of course, we are headquartered in Sweden, in the Nordics, with this culture. But we operate, just the IKEA Group, in 29 countries. We are in Asia, we are in Europe, and we are in North America with IKEA Group. Different cultures, different emphasis on equality. So we also need to look into what do we do with the infrastructure. Because when I listen here, and your government is creating the infrastructure that enables equality between men and women, in many countries of the world, it is not the case. So we as a company need to take it on to just equalize what you're doing here already. So for us, it's a little bit of a bigger issue. So if we start, we always start with its values-driven culture. And we tell our leaders, if we are values-driven, let's show it in action. So you will see we have policies on equality, and we have standards and code of conduct, and we have also, with our suppliers, IKEA Way, we have requirement of our suppliers to treat men and women equally, to hire women, to give them equal opportunities and fair treatment. So we go beyond just what we can influence. And then we celebrate quite a bit the days in IKEA events internally and externally so that we promote and bring together people who think about gender equality. And of course now we also participate in the UN high level of economic empowerment, and there, together with the UN of course, and together with the Prime Minister of Costa Rica, we committed that by 2020 we will have an equal workforce. And believe me, it's one thing to work with our leaders on it, but most of the comments come from our coworkers that are so proud to work in a company that really care. And it comes from men as well as women, those comments. So we start there. And then we go into the competence, because what we found is that sometimes people are afraid, they feel threatened. If you focus now on women, what does it mean for me? I'm a man. I worked really hard, and now I'm on the succession bench. What will happen to me? So what we do, we create education. So we had a series of creating a gender-intelligent IKEA, which means let's educate about the differences of the men and women, and what is the value that we bring together if we actually learn how to use our uniqueness together, rather than asking everybody to look and behave in the same way. Then we have a huge series of unconscious bias, and that is actually for every dimension of diversity. We really talk about what are some of our unconscious biases that we are not aware of, and that's why some men will say, but hold on, you want me to promote the women, but what about qualification? Clearly, it's not based on reality. It's based on your unconscious bias that only men can be qualified. Because if we know that women are highly educated, they're highly skilled, why would you even think that we are going to compromise qualification? So going into the unconscious bias, going into the privilege that some people in society take for granted, and then asking them, have you thought about it? It's a privilege how easy your life is, whereas my life is I need to work twice as hard just to be in the same place that you are at. And I think it's fantastic because people just wake up and realize, wow, I was just not aware. And then finally, is what I talked about, is the infrastructure. So what we do is, in many countries, we put the infrastructure in place. So if in Sweden and Norway and Denmark, we have paternity leave just as maternity leave, because it's parental leave. In the rest of the world, it's pretty much, no, maybe some countries in North Europe, they also have it. But in many, many of our countries, it's only maternity leave. I mean, in the US, it's 6 weeks maternity leave and 0 paternity leave. So for example, a few months ago, we launched in the US that there will be between 4 to 6 months parental leave. It's for men and women. And we actually recognize it. The men, we celebrate the men that take the paternity leave. We introduced it in India, and that was a shocker. We introduced it in Japan, and we constantly track it. We have 3 guys in 6 years that took paternity leave, and we constantly go and talk about it. It's good if you took paternity leave. It's not going to impact, but it's really hard to transform people in what they believe it will do. It is not the male's job to take a role at home. So it takes quite a bit to impact people, because we are trying to impact their lives at home as well, not only at work. Of course, if they change at home, they come back with a totally different attitude when they come to work. So we introduce quite a bit of infrastructure. We support both men and women. The one thing that we don't like to do, and I know some other companies are doing, is providing skills for women. Since I joined IKEA, I said absolutely not. Because many companies are offering how to negotiate only for women, how to resolve conflict. And what it actually means is how to be a man at work. So we said absolutely not. We will bring men and women together that will teach and share with each other. So we have none of this. What we did do, and now we are actually changing, we have this IWON, IKEA Women Open Network. So it is about gender equality. But let's face it, we want equality, but the world is such that still women are lagging behind. So what we said is, okay, let's call it gender equality, but let's acknowledge the issue that we are dealing with today. For the most part, all over our IKEA world, still women are having a hard time getting the same exact opportunities to be promoted as men. So let's focus on them first, and then we will also focus on men once we have a gap there. But what we did with this IWON, we invited men and women. We invited equal men and women. But the result in the last 4 years is every single one of those events, we go to more and more men, and we see the forward invitation. Oh, I think it will be interesting for this person. 70% women in every single one of the events, even though we invite 50-50. So for me, it's an eye-opener to come here. I'm going to focus now more on men, because of course we are focusing on people. The people that we invite is people in key leadership positions that you have the opportunity now after this event to go and change your country, function, whatever it is. Well, if it's only the women and they are not the holders of the top position, are we going to change something? Or are we going to talk to somebody who already agreed about the topic before? Should we not bring our critical partners on board? And that for me is a lot of learning to be done today. So thank you for that. So what do we look like today? We have come a long way. We have 149,000 co-workers. In our base co-worker population, we have 54% women. Among our management team, we have 48% women, and we have about almost 20,000 managers, and it's 48%. Our group management, which is what other companies call the C-suite we have 50%, which is a fantastic accomplishment, with the CEO that everybody knows. He champions diversity and equality, and I have no doubts that he will start participating in those events once I introduce him to this. And on our board, we still have 33%. But I can tell you, it has been a progress, continuous progress. But still, we had 1 year that we said, oh, we are in a pretty good place. We are in 46%. Yeah, let's stop focusing. The next year, we went down. So trust me, if you don't continue putting the focus on it, we go back to our old behaviors. And we go back to what you said also, Peter, opening the position. Every position is open. Otherwise, we go to our boys' club and we remember somebody that we know. And before you know it, we go back to more men in leadership position. So to close it, what are some of the learnings that we had? Gender inequality is not a woman's problem. It's a society problem. We know when we have women in leadership position, and we also work a lot with women, with next generation women. We work with women in India, in Thailand, to create a good economy. And when we hire and involve women, when we support those women, the entire community benefits. So, and we also know in India, it's proven that when women join the business, it increases the GDP. So it's a society issue. It's not a women's issue. For too many years, it was like, it's a women issue, so let the women solve it. That's why this event is so different. And we know that both men and women are crucial for creating gender equality in the world. And what we also know, and I spoke about it, it's about this being gender intelligent. Sometimes it's the lack of knowledge and it's the lack of awareness that keeps us in the status quo that we are at. So maybe a little bit more education and a little bit increased awareness. And we talk a lot about the heart and the gut, not only the brain. So we say we have 3 intelligences: the heart, the brain, and the gut. Let's use all 3, and we use all 3 when we talk about equality and human rights. And like I said before, it's not a number game, because we do have some cases that we have reached a number game, and then we go to those events. Everybody dresses somewhat the same because everybody is wearing suit. All of a sudden you see, okay, so women are being dressed the same and they talk the same. We haven't accomplished anything because we don't want to change women to be like men. We want women to be women and we want men to be men. Only then I think society is effective. So yes, inclusion. This is our biggest topic in IKEA moving forward. So in our strategy, 2017 to 2020 is all about inclusion. What are some of the things that you can do in your culture to switch it so that it's the female and the male, it's the feminine and the masculine? And collaboration beyond IKEA is what we find will really push us forward. And this, for sure, is one such collaboration that we learn what are some other things that companies are doing that can take us even more forward in where we are. And that's IKEA.